This chapter is updated by Wuxia. EU Fang Xiaoning stared at Huang Yueli with an expression which didn't look quite like a smile. Anyone could tell what that meant. They only felt this young lady's mind wasn't clear at all, totally like a joke. Miss Bai, what are you doing? Could it be that you really want to challenge me? Huang Yueli replied calmly, I've already made things very clear. Fang Xiaoning's gaze shifted as he squinted his eyes. Celestial Light sect is really interesting. Have all the practitioners in the sect all died or what? Actually allowing a 4th stage realm practitioner to take part in the battle, further. She's a 4th stage realm armament master. This is simply unheard of. Furthermore, Li Moying really doesn't treat you as a thing, eh? Actually allowing a young lass like you on stage to battle on behalf of Celestial Light sect. I've never thought that the famed South Sky region's #1 genius would actually push his woman out to bear the brunt. His words were filled with ridicule and at the same time, he was trying to sow discord between them. Hearing that he actually dared to humiliate their respected young sect master, Celestial Light sect's disciples all turned steely green. But unfortunately, all of them had no way of rebuttal. Li Moying actually allowed his 4th stage realm fiancé to go up the stage to battle the 6th stage realm Fang Xiaoning. The only possibility was to let Fang Xiaoning to injured Huang Yueli, then using that to exaggerate matters. Otherwise, no one could understand why he had to do this. But this kind of underhanded matters really didn't suit Li Moying's normally aloof and overbearing character. There wasn't much expression on Huang Yueli's face, only her voice turned biting cold. You should feel lucky that my fiancé isn't able to join in the tournament today, otherwise you'd be a corpse by now. I hope that later when you leave this stage, you still dare to speak in this manner to my man. You. Fang Xiaoning had not expected that instead of humiliating Huang Yueli, he was slapped on the face by a few mere words from her. He immediately turned embarrassment into anger. All right, it's you yourself who came up to the stage to seek death, not me who coerced you. Judge, why aren't you announcing the start of the competition? The judge knew that things were irrevocable as he shook his head. The challenger of this round, by Ruoli, challenging arena champion Fang Xiaoning. The battle will officially start now. His words had just fallen, then the air on the stage seemed to turn frozen as it was filled with a strong pressure. Fang Xiaoning had, at the first instance, unleashed all the profound energy within his body, forming an overbearing pressure towards Huang Yueli. He had not immediately struck vicious moves towards Huang Yueli because the disparity between the two of them was simply too huge. From Fang Xiaoning's view, it was as easy as crushing an ant to death for him to kill Huang Yueli in one move. But in this way, he would be subjected to a suspect who was bullying the weak, so even if he won, he would not win any praises. On the contrary, he would be subjected to gossip by others. So what he must do now was to show his style of his ability. With the huge disparity in their cultivations, what he needed to do was to use his might, and he would be able to make Huang Yueli shake all over, lying limp on the ground. Only in this way would it make her shocked, forcing her to get off the arena, which was the demeanor of a top expert. Fang Xiaoning was making up beautiful thoughts in his mind as the profound energy kept unleashing from his body. He was now in the state of maniacization as his profound energy was abundant. Not only was the arena enveloped in an invisible huge pressure, even the practitioners who were seated on the first row of the spectators' seating were clearly able to feel this pressure. Those practitioners with lower cultivations had their expressions changed immediately. So powerful, no wonder he's a 6th stage realm 7th level practitioner. You can also listen on. We already feel so unbearable right here, by Ruoli's up on the stage, so the pressure she suffers must be at least a few times. She's only in the 4th stage realm, not even as high as my cultivation level, so she definitely cannot take it. So pitiful, the minute she's up on stage, she hasn't even made a single move and is going to roll off the stage just because of a little profound energy pressure. So embarrassing, you say. She's an armament master, but why did she have to get involved in this muddy water? Isn't she just asking to be insulted? Everyone felt sorry for her as they started to shake their heads. Everyone thought that they would see Huang Yueli being pressured so much by Feng Xiaoning's profound energy at the next moment until her face turned pale as she spat out blood, then miserably falling of the arena. Some of Celestial Light Sect's disciples couldn't bear to see it as they used their hands to cover their eyes. However, as time went by, the image in everyone's eyes did not happen. Huang Yueli was still standing on the other end of the arena, exchanging glances with Feng Xiaoning from afar. She didn't spat out any blood nor did she retreat, and there were no changes to her complexion at all as she maintained a composed look at her opponent. Feng Xiaoning frowned as he opened his mouth. What's the matter? You still intend to hang on? Don't blame me for not reminding you, although you've already gained some face like this, but your meridians and internal organs have already been injured by my profound energy. Take this opportunity to get off the stage and your injury can still be treated. But if you continue to hang on like that, you're really going to be crippled. Huang Yueli gave a cold laugh. Whether I'm injured or not, would I not know it myself? Do I need you to remind me? Feng Xiaoning clenched his teeth. Very good, looks like you won't shed tears until you see the coffin. Saying that, he recklessly unleashed his profound energy in his surrounding and the strong might accumulated in layers, as it charged overbearingly towards Huang Yueli's direction. Right at this moment, Huang Yueli's clothes and hair flew by this huge amount of profound energy as it kept flying around in the air. The judge couldn't help but take a step back as he watched alertly at what was happening. Everyone could tell that Huang Yueli couldn't possibly take on such pressure because Feng Xiaoning had almost raised the imposing manner around his surroundings to the maximum limit. Any practitioner who was in the 5th stage realm and below could not escape unscathed under this kind of situation. However, Huang Yueli remained motionless. This time, Celestial Light Sect's disciples all became anxious as their hearts twisted into a bundle. Initially they felt that her abrupt appearance on stage made Celestial Light Sect embarrassed, but now when they saw her facing such a strong opponent and still continued to hold on tight, quite a number of them could not bear it. Miss Bai, if you really can't hang on, just give up. Don't force yourself to hang on. That's right, if you injure your meridians, it's a small matter if only your cultivation is affected. The worse is it might affect your refining armaments. Sigh, anyway senior sister Murong has already been defeated, so originally none of us had hoped for Miss Bai to win. Quite a number of disciples turned to look at Li Moying, feeling that a man like him who pampered his fiancée so much would definitely not endure it any further as he made his way down to save her. However, out of their expectations, Li Moying remained composed as he sat on his original seat, looking towards the direction of the stage from afar. It wasn't that Li Moying wasn't worried for Huang Yueli, but he knew that it is not the real timing for him to be really anxious yet. His little fox would not be unable to resist a mere 6th-stage realm practitioner's profound energy suppression. Feng Xiaoning saw Huang Yueli still hanging on tightly as he gave a cold harumph, really seeking your own death. Since you're not willing to get off the stage, then I can only kick you down. You can also listen on. Saying that, Feng Xiaoning took a huge stride forward as he trudged towards Huang Yueli's direction. He totally had not considered the fact that Huang Yueli still had any tinge of resistance left, so he totally didn't do anything to defend himself as he walked over directly. From what he saw, Huang Yueli had long extinguished her energy, suffering from serious internal injury. Don't mention resistance. He gauged that he just needed one little finger and he would be able to poke her down. But just as he was slowly walking forward, Feng Xiaoning suddenly felt a blur in front of his eyes. The next moment, he suddenly discovered that Huang Yueli, who was still not too far away from him earlier, had actually gone missing. Not waiting for Feng Xiaoning to make any response, a burst of air cracking sound was heard from his back. Fong Xiaoning hurriedly turned back but was barely able to see a glint of silver light flashing past as it charged towards the position of his heart. He hurriedly worked up his footwork as he speedily retreated backwards. A soft chi-la was heard and blood immediately spilled. Even though Fong Xiaoning's speed was very fast, by the time he started to evade, it was already too late. His chest area was slashed by a deep gash by Huang Yueli. This gash started from his shoulder all the way to his chest and was longer than 3 inches. The depth of the gash was rather deep as blood continued to spill outwards. Earlier Huang Yueli's movements, from the time she started to evade till her attack, was simply too fast and her actions were just too sudden. Many practitioners below the stage had not yet reacted to what was happening, or they hadn't even had time to see her movements clearly. It was until she managed to strike him when many of them realized what exactly happened earlier. Heavens, am I seeing things? By Ruoli she actually hurt Fong Xiaoning. You didn't see things wrongly, but how was this possible? Earlier Fong Xiaoning unleashed such powerful pressure that even we, who are below the stage, had difficulty in breathing, but Bai Ruoli is actually alright? Right, it's too strange. Furthermore, even if she wasn't oppressed by Fong Xiaoning's profound energy, she shouldn't be able to move so swiftly. Earlier, that lightning-fast movement, I can't even see the route of her attack. She's just in the 4th stage realm, how could she be so fast? The audience looked at each other in dismay as their tongues were tied with their mouths agape, not daring to believe in their eyes. From what everyone saw, this was absolutely a one-sided competition, or one could even say that it was a bully match for Fong Xiaoning towards Huang Yueli. As long as Fong Xiaoning didn't beat Huang Yueli until her meridians shattered or half-crippled, then it meant that he was showing mercy. That was why no one in their wildest dream had thought that the first to get injured was not Huang Yueli, but Fong Xiaoning. Furthermore, Fong Xiaoning's injury was rather serious. Although it was only just skin and flesh injury, but such a long and deep gash was actually very painful. Furthermore, he could not tend to his wound, allowing the blood to flow. Under such circumstances where a large amount of blood kept flowing leading to hemorrhage, it was a huge influence towards the practitioner's ability. Murongde, who was seated up high, was staring with his eyes popping out. He was not able to regain his senses for quite some time. After a while, he finally couldn't help but started laughing out loudly as he talked to Cui Yuan Shan next to him. Sect Master Cui, this is really out of this sect master's expectations. You're all too modest, seeing that we Celestial Light sect have sent out such a young practitioner, so he intentionally gave in a little. This kind of gentleman demeanor is rarely seen nowadays. No wonder your sect is the #1 sect in the West Sky region. Cui Yuan Shan's complexion turned green. Don't know what you're so complacent about. That young lass merely took advantage of Xiaoning's unpreparedness, which was why her sneak attack worked. You can also listen on. From the looks of the current situation, Xiaoning might have been beaten up, but after suffering this disadvantage, would Xiaoning still be bewitched like before? It's impossible for Bai Ruoli to sneak another attack on him again. Whereas the huge disparity between their ability and cultivation levels still exists and had not lessened a single bit. This battle's ultimate winner cannot be changed. Cui Yuan Shan's face was filled with arrogance. Although he didn't quite understood why Huang Yueli was able to resist against a 6th-stage realm 7th-level practitioner's pressure and remain unhurt, why her movements were so nimble and the angles of her sneak attacks were so precise, but Cui Yuan Shan believed that there was a moat in between a 6th and 4th-stage realm which could never be crossed. It might be possible to sneak an attack, but if she was thinking of reversing the situation into her victory, it was totally impossible. Murongde gave a cold snort. Earlier everyone assumed that Bai Ruoli couldn't even threaten Fong Xiaoning a single bit, but in the end, this is not just merely a little threat. Now you're saying that it's impossible for her to gain victory. Things might have an unexpected turn of events. Although he sounded as though he didn't admit defeat, but inside his heart, he still agreed with what Cui Yuanshan said. Huang Yueli's performance had indeed made everyone's eyes lit up, but she was still far from gaining victory. On the arena, Fang Xiaoning was caught unprepared, which was why Huang Yueli managed to sneak an attack successfully, which made him suffer a rather serious exterior injury. Momentarily, he also didn't believe that it was true. But immediately following that, his expression turned sinister. So, you're able to resist my oppression because you have some profound artifact on you which can absorb profound energy. But even if you can hurt me, you can just remain complacent for a moment. Earlier I underestimated you, which was why I fell into your trap. Now, I will let you see the difference between a 6th-stage realm and a 4th-stage realm. The minute Fang Xiaoning finished his last word, he immediately struck out. He didn't dare to be careless this time round. Not only that, because he had lost face due to his injury, it made him feel extremely angry as his moves were fast and furious. Profound energy with a mixture of earth, wood, and metal tri-attributes easily stirred up the surrounding air. Bursts of penetrative murderous air were casted out towards Huang Yueli's direction. The stage below instantly echoed gasps of exclamation. Heavens, he's too fast. So this is Fang Xiaoning's actual ability. 6th-stage realm's profound energy, in addition to Green Cloud's sect suppression faction profound skill, is almighty. Bai Ruoli is going to be finished this time round. Under Fang Xiaoning's rage, he totally lost control of the severity of his attack. Initially, Fang Xiaoning had not thought of killing Huang Yueli. This was not just to maintain the relationship between the two sects, but also because of that terrifying fiancé behind Huang Yueli. Those who still had a bit of rationality left would not dare to do anything to her. But now, as Fang Xiaoning had been injured by her and he even heard Celestial Light sect's disciples ridicule towards him, under the mixture of embarrassment and fury, he had long lost his rationality. These few moves were all killer moves. Moreover, it had sealed off all avenues of Huang Yueli's retreat plan. For those who saw this, their faces turned pate as they were so anxious that they forgot to breathe. It was imaginable that it was difficult for Huang Yueli to escape even if she had wings. Furthermore, if she were really struck by these moves, they gauged that she would immediately lose her life. Third junior brother, stop. A sharp shout was suddenly heard. A figure dressed in white dashed out from the viewing platform as he tried to stop him. But Fang Xiaoning's speed was just too swift. You can also listen on. The white figure had yet arrived when Fang Xiaoning's killer move was right in front of Huang Yueli. On seeing that a tragedy was about to occur at the next moment, everyone couldn't hold themselves back as they cried out in shock. While hanging by a thread, Huang Yueli's feet moved along with her agility dance steps as she slid out of Fang Xiaoning's area of attack. Fang Xiaoning couldn't help but went into a blank as he turned around to take a look at her, unable to believe that under the circumstances that he had used his full potential, Huang Yueli was still able to escape. Whereas Huang Yueli was also in a state of shock as the sweat on her forehead kept sprouting because she had not expected Fang Xiaoning's ability to be that powerful. Most practitioners who practiced the maniacization cultivation method, while they were in a state of maniac, although their cultivation was raised by a huge notch, but as compared to same-level practitioners, there was still a difference. No matter in terms of speed or attack, it would all decrease. However, Fang Xiaoning seemed to have curbed this weakness. Not only was he able to display his actual combat ability, he was not inferior to an actual 6th-stage realm 7th-level practitioner. Earlier when she evaded him, she had already used all of her energy, but she could only manage to escape barely when the situation was extremely critical. Her arm was even swept by his palm wind as a slight injury could be seen. Luckily Fang Xiaoning was too shocked and didn't continue to chase after her while he was riding high on the tide. Otherwise she would probably be in deep trouble. At this moment, the white-robed Leng Yifeng had already rushed to the stage. He flashed and blocked right in front of Huang Yueli, at the same time sweeping an extremely unhappy gaze towards Fang Xiaoning. Third junior brother, what are you doing? This is merely a tournament, how could you not control your own temper and deal such a heavy hand towards Miss Bai? Luckily Miss Bai's reaction was swift enough, otherwise if any accident really happened, are you able to take the responsibility for this? He berated Fang Xiaoning harshly. When Fang Xiaoning saw his appearance, he was first shocked, but upon hearing his words, he couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. Practitioners who were in a state of maniacization were easily agitated. Earlier he was looked down upon by those weaklings, so he lost his rationality at the spur of a moment, which led to him dealing a murderous hand on her. Now that he had cooled down to think things through, he realized that he had almost committed a huge mistake. If Huang Yueli really died under his hands, his master might not be able to protect him. Fang Xiaoning quickly took a step back. Yes, senior brother, I was too rash due to a moment of folly. He had always been respectful towards Leng Yifeng because if not for Leng Yifeng's relationship, it was impossible to get the maniacization cultivation method which he was cultivating. Furthermore, he would go to Sky Emperor City in future and would definitely join the Leng family clan. Leng Yifeng gave a cold snort as he said, "Forget it, you didn't do it intentionally. Since the outcome is already out, then, wait." Huang Yueli hurriedly cut into his words, "Master Leng, I don't understand what you're saying, what outcome is already out? I've just started the battle with Fang Xiaoning, so how could the outcome already been set?" Leng Yifeng revealed a shocked expression, "You're still preparing to continue battling?" "Of course. Isn't it already written clearly on the competition regulations? As long as no one admits defeat and no one had been thrown down the arena stage, then this competition is not considered as ended." Huang Yueli replied calmly. But Leng Yifeng already didn't know what else to say. Earlier when this lass ran up the stage, it could be explained as a moment of rashness. But now she almost lost her life, yet she was still not willing to get off the stage. What on earth was she thinking of? Did she really not want her life anymore? You can also listen on. Leng Yifeng advised, "Miss Bai, don't act in this way. If any accident were to really happen to you, it's not a good thing for both our sects." He really didn't want to see Huang Yueli heavily injured. After all, such a talented young female armament master was rarely seen, and their Ling family lacked armament masters among all other jobs. She was an important chip to his future position in the Ling family, so he had never given up the intention of wooing Huang Yueli at all. However, Huang Yueli raised her brows. "It's very easy to end this battle, please get Master Fang to admit defeat." Fang Xiaoning's face turned green. "What? You want me to admit defeat? Don't you take an inch for a mile? To think that you still have the face to say such things, did you really think that I have no way to deal with you? Earlier you were able to escape narrowly because of your luck. Since you've already said this, then let's continue the battle." Third junior brother. Leng Yifeng frowned. Fang Xiaoning replied, "Eldest senior brother, don't worry. I will absolutely not take her life. But as what you've seen, she totally refused the proffered wine and insisted on taking the punishment wine. This battle is of utmost importance, so if I don't show her any colors, she will never admit her loss." Cui Yuan Shan also couldn't help but frowned. "Yifeng, you can't join in the competition, so stop staying on the stage. Your third junior brother knows the severity of his moves. This is the last battle, so stop wasting time." Leng Yifeng then realized that his actions had already gone way beyond that. Even Cui Yuan Shan detected that something was amiss, as he was slightly dissatisfied. Because of this, he could only step down the stage, giving up the space on the arena. Celestial Light Sect's disciples were all holding on to their breaths, feeling extremely conflicted. They were all afraid that Huang Yueli would lose like Murong Fei, but they had no choice but to admit that admitting defeat was the best choice. Searching their own consciences, if the majority of them were in her position, they would definitely admit defeat. With such a huge disparity in their cultivations, no matter how they tried their best, they still had no ounce of chance of victory, and they would probably throw their lives away for no good reason. Which idiot would do that? But, in the end, Huang Yueli actually requested to continue with the competition. This was out of everyone's expectations, simply making everyone shocked. Jumping up onto the stage based on her moment of rashness was simple, but upon realizing how powerful the other party was, and knowing that there was no chance of victory yet still able to continue with the battle was simply too difficult. Momentarily, all the disciples in Celestial Light sect saw her in a new light with only a thought in their minds: she's really worthy of being young sect master's fiancée. Although her potential wasn't first-rate, but her spirit was just too hard to come by. At this moment, Fang Xiaoning and Huang Yueli had once again prepared themselves. The judge announced, "The battle shall now start again." This round, both parties started moving at the same time. Fang Xiaoning had already cooled himself down so naturally he wouldn't casually strike a killer move, so when he struck, it was with reservations. Whereas Huang Yueli already had some experience. She knew that the disparity between their potentials was extremely large and she would absolutely not easily win this battle, so she needed to be more patient. So she chose the main path of evasion. Right from the start of the competition, she fully utilized her agility dance steps, dancing around the entire arena, evading Fang Xiaoning's attacks. Fang Xiaoning initially thought that as long as he didn't lose focus, he only required 30% of his energy to throw Huang Yueli down the stage. But after a short moment, he realized that he had not even been able to touch even a corner of Huang Yueli's robe hem. You can also listen on. This made Fang Xiaoning extremely surprised. No matter what, the disparity between almost two large realms' cultivation, in terms of speed, was heaven and earth apart. Even if he didn't use his full strength, he shouldn't be unable to even touch her at all. But Fang Xiaoning increased his speed and tried several more times, yet was still evaded by Huang Yueli with much difficulty. Fang Xiaoning's expression congealed. He realized that Huang Yueli's movement and profound skill which she exhibited was very meticulous. From the way her figure swayed, it could even show some remnant figure to befuddle his vision. The profound skill which she cultivated was definitely a heaven-grade profound skill. Fang Xiaoning had no choice but to increase his speed as his strikes were like lightning, swiftly attacking towards Huang Yueli. Huang Yueli also revolved the profound energy in her as her footwork speed was also raised to the maximum. Everyone on stage couldn't see their figures clearly, only two blurry reflections as it kept shuttling around the stage. One moment they were at the middle of the stage and the next moment, they appeared on the corner of the boundary. Only practitioners who were 5th stage realm and above were barely able to see the tracks of their movements. So fast, too fast. So a 6th stage realm practitioner's speed is actually that fast. I'm in 5th stage realm 7th level, but I can't even manage to follow 20% of this speed. Fang Xiaoning's speed is indeed very fast, but it's by Ruoli who's more incredible. Isn't she just at 4th stage realm 9th level? How could she be so fast as well? That's right, Fang Xiaoning had been pursuing her so tightly and with such intense attacks. If I were up there, I'd have been kicked off the stage long ago. But Bai Ruoli is actually able to evade his attacks. Although it was always short of an inch or less before she was kicked down, but it was always just short of that inch. Heavens, how on earth did she manage that? Murong's eyes also grew larger and larger, as a surprised expression revealed on his face. Good. Great evasion. I'd not expected that. Not only is Miss Bai a talented armament master, she even has such great innate talent in terms of cultivation. No wonder that disciple of mine whose eyes grew on top of his head was smitten head over heels by her. Cui Yuan Shan however frowned slightly. He had not expected that a match which could be won easily could actually have such changes. This young lass looked as though her cultivation was very weak and not worth mentioning at all, but in actual fact, she was very difficult to tackle. Hearing Murongda shouting out happily loudly, Cui Yuan Shan just felt extremely frustrated. No matter how good her innate talent is, isn't she just in the 4th stage realm? Such a huge disparity is not just in terms of speed. Using such high speed to evade attacks takes a huge toll on the exhaustion of profound energy. This sect master is going to see how much longer can that young lass hang on. Hearing that, Murongda's smile suddenly froze. Cui Yuan Shan was indeed an established 9th stage realm practitioner, as his foresight was indeed not bad. After Huang Yueli had been fully executing the agility dance steps for quite a long duration, she indeed was starting to feel a little unbearable. This was not only because of the exhaustion of her profound energy. More so, when Feng Xiaoning was pursuing after her, although the profound energy which he unleashed didn't directly struck her, but it had gradually developed some influence towards her speed. Her speed started to slow down gradually, whereas at the next moment, Feng Xiaoning's attack followed immediately. The two of them were just an inch apart, and although she went sluggish for just a little moment, that gave Feng Xiaoning the opportunity to attack her shoulder. With a swish, a sliver ray flashed by. The cloth on Huang Yueli's shoulder split open and blood immediately spilled. You can also listen on. At the same time, the stage below burst into a huge commotion. Bai Ruoli is injured. Heavens, in the end he still chased up to her. This time round she's finished. That's right, the minute she's injured, Feng Xiaoning would never give up on his pursuit. Even ordinary disciples could tell that Huang Yueli's situation was dire, and it was imaginable how much pressure she was under while on the arena stage. Although the wound on Huang Yueli's shoulder was not considered deep, but it still affected her movements. Even though Huang Yueli's psychological state was exceptionally great and her agility dance steps was still executed properly, but she wasn't as swift as she was earlier. The two of them still remained as the current situation where one evades while the other pursued. But not long after, Huang Yueli was stuck again. Another chi sound, and this time she was hurt on her left thigh. As time went by, the wounds on Huang Yueli started to increase and many of it were bleeding, cutting a sorry state. Feng Xiaoning's speed had also decreased because of his previous injury and the prolonged duration of exhaustion, but his potential and cultivational level was right there, so his entire state was much better than Huang Yueli's. Huang Yueli was stuck by yet another move. Heavens, Bai Ruoli is injured again. In total, she already has 10 over wounds on her. Right, although those are all external injuries, but with so many wounds, the state of hemorrhage is just too serious. Her speed is obviously much slower than earlier. Still not going to admit her loss quickly. If this goes on, she will be injured very seriously. She's already done too much. That's right, she's just a 4th stage realm practitioner and able to fight against Feng Xiaoning till this step. It's already very rare. Even if she lost, it's not her responsibility. Celestial Light Sect's disciples were already standing on Huang Yueli's side, all secretly worrying for her. From what they saw, Huang Yueli would still lose eventually. But even though she lost, she had already exhibited unimaginable extraordinary potential. If it wasn't for the fact that they witnessed it with their own eyes, no one would believe that there was such a powerful 4th stage realm person who could fight it out with a 6th stage realm 7th level top expert for so long. Even leaving such a huge wound on the 6th stage realm expert's body. Crossing over 2 huge realms to battle was something unimaginable to all the disciples present. So even if Huang Yueli admitted her loss now, she was still honored though defeated. No one would deny that she was a genuine genius young lady with extraordinary talents. The audience below the stage were advising her to admit defeat, but Huang Yueli totally showed no signs of admitting defeat at all. Even though she was already wounded 10 over times and her speed was starting to decrease, but she clenched her teeth tightly as she tried her best to exhibit her footwork, continuing to seek for survival under Feng Xiaoning's continuous pursuit. On the high stage above, Li Moying clenched his fist tightly as he gazed upon the situation in the arena. His face was still emotionless, but his heart was extremely anxious to the limit. He had on several times jolted from his seat with the intent to rush down to the stage below. Especially the few times when Huang Yueli was severely hurt, he almost stood upright. But recalling the reminder which Huang Yueli had repeatedly told him before the competition, he coerced himself to get back to his seat. At this moment, he finally experienced what was the torture described as using a knife to carve at one's heart. His beloved woman was now in the arena, covered with scratches, but unfortunately, he could not head up to stop it. Not that he didn't have the ability to do so, but he couldn't go. You can also listen on. Li Moying felt that he had almost used up this entire life of self-restraint before he could barely control his own actions. Many times, he wanted to, that his Lear didn't need to become so powerful and he could protect her for life. He didn't need her to go through such harsh experience training to seek breakthrough, to raise her own potential. But in the end, he still controlled himself. If he really broke Huang Yueli's experience training plan, then this young lass would definitely be angry. She had always been so eager to be first, so arrogant. In her past life, she wasn't willing to be the woman behind the #1 top exponent, which was why he was deeply attracted to her. He couldn't affect her in her pursuit for the things which she wanted. Just as Li Moying was unable to sit or stand still, a sound came from his back. "Young sect master Li, what good determination you have, ah! Your fiancé is already severely hurt and yet you still don't give any reaction at all." Celestial light sex people were saying just how much you pamper your fiancé, but from the looks of it, it's just a so-so only. Li Moying slowly turned his head around as he stared at Lang Yifeng, who was standing right behind him, and he slightly frowned. "What concern is it of yours?" Lang Yifeng sensed the powerful aura which was emitting from Li Moying and subconsciously became anxious. The disparity between the both of them was simply too huge, and if it was usual, he wouldn't dare to provoke Li Moying in this way. But seeing that it was at the event of an official tournament between the two sects and his master was also around, Lang Yifeng's guts inflated by quite a bit. Recalling that Huang Yueli exhibited such powerful cultivational innate talent in the arena, Lang Yifeng's heart got even hotter. Originally he thought that she was just a genius armament master. Even so, she was already an extremely rare match for marriage. Now, she actually exhibited her potential in terms of cultivation, 4th stage realm versus 6th stage realm. If he missed this kind of talented young lady, he would absolutely not be able to find a second one. With the thought of getting Huang Yueli, Lang Yifeng's heart started to burn, even forgetting the injury which he had suffered from Li Moying's previous attack, standing out to challenge his love rival. At this present moment, a burst of shock screeches could be heard from the stage below once again. Apparently, Huang Yueli was injured yet again. Lang Yifeng couldn't help but said, "Miss Bai is so severely injured, but yet you didn't go and stop this. In actual fact you don't like her at all. You merely feel that she's an armament master and has such talent in cultivation, so you abandoned Murong Fei to be together with her, right? Did you think that no one can tell?" Li Moying's gaze was icy cold. "What a joke. How do you even have the cheek to say that about me? You should ask yourself, why and for what reason do you even covert my fiancé?" Lang Yifeng was rendered speechless, but very quickly he started to rebuke him. I'm different from you. I truly admire Miss Bai. Earlier when my third junior brother dealt a heavy hand towards Miss Bai, haven't I gone over to stop him? What about you? Where were you? Did you think that Miss Bai is an idiot? She knows very well who is the man who is true to her. After today, she would definitely be utterly disappointed with you. You're totally not worthy of her. The last sentence managed to poke through Li Moying's Achilles heel. His gaze turned extremely cold as his brows rose, following which his aura surrounding him exploded instantly. Scram! He coldly spat out a word, and although his voice wasn't very loud, but it was powerful and resonating. Lang Yifeng was forced back by his aura as he instantly fell backwards. You can also listen on. A loud bam was heard and everyone present had a big shock as they turned back in surprise. In the end, they saw Green Cloud Sect's eldest disciple Lang Yifeng being sent flying just by one word from Li Moying as he directly rolled down from the high stage. Momentarily, everyone was tongue-tied. Lang Yifeng got up in a disheveled state only to realize that he hadn't suffered any injury. But he detected various mixtures of emotions from his surroundings, ranging from shock, ridicule and sarcastic glares which made his face turn fiery red, as though he had been given a tight slap on the face. Apparently, Li Moying indeed couldn't injure him too heavily due to the current occasion. But he intentionally created such a loud sound so that everyone could see himself being sent flying by Li Moying with the intention to humiliate him. Li Moying was a person who was conscious of his own status and he had extremely strong pride. By doing this, it was much worse than heavily injuring him, which made Lang Yifeng unable to accept it. Cui Yuanshan and Murongda were also attracted by the loud sound as they turned around and saw this scene. Both of them went into a daze, but Murongda quickly realized what had happened as he laughed. Brother Cui, looks like the battle on the arena has dragged on for too long and the other disciples were all getting impatient so they couldn't help but started to spar outside the stage. Sigh, this disciple of mine is just too straight and doesn't know how to be gentler. Although Mr. Lang is Green Cloud Sect's eldest disciple but his potential versus Li Moying's was just too huge, he should have taken care of your disciple's reputation. Cui Yuan Shan's face turned black like ink. This fellow was just too embarrassing. On stage was a 6th stage realm 7th level disciple who couldn't take down a 4th stage realm outer disciple, which was embarrassing enough. Now Lang Yifeng actually came up with such a wicked idea. Cui Yuan Shan berated furiously, Yifeng, why did you run over to young sect master Li's side for no good reason? Get back to your own seat right now. Lang Yifeng was shouted at by his master and felt that all his face was all thrown away. He lowered his head, not daring to look at other people's gazes as he gloomily turned around and left. Right at this moment, his hatred and jealousy towards Li Moying rose and at the same time ascertained that Li Moying was so cold-blooded so he must make Huang Yueli see through his real face. This little episode only attracted the crowd's short attention for a few seconds. Very soon, everyone's attention went back to the arena. Right now, Huang Yueli had already reached an extremely dangerous state, just one step away from failure. The traces of blood on her body almost soaked her entire clothing red and the arena stage's floor were full of little droplets of blood which came from her. Her speed was much slower than before and at this moment, one didn't require too high of a cultivation level to see her movements clearly. But, she was still holding on. Fong Xiaoning on the other hand appeared extremely frustrated. Although he had also lost a lot of blood resulting in the depletion of his energy, but he still forcefully held on as he used all his might to pursue Huang Yueli. Strike after strike, with no signs of loosening up at all. As he pursued her, he kept shouting, "By Ruoli, you'd better admit defeat. You're already injured so severely, so even if you don't admit defeat voluntarily, there's no way that you can win. If you continue on like this, if I accidentally slip up causing you an untreatable serious injury, then you'd not gain any advantage at all." Huang Yueli pursed her lips rightly. Her lips had turned palely white because of the huge loss in blood. She didn't respond to him because if she did, her speed would drop another notch. You can also listen on. Seeing that Huang Yueli refused to give up, Fang Xiaoning hastened the speed of his attack. In this way, Huang Yueli was in a precarious situation once again, and there were a few times when she was almost sent flying. Below the stage, the number of voices which urged her to give up grew louder and louder. There were many Green Cloud sect's disciples who were touched by her and didn't want to see her being tortured any further. However, Huang Yueli clenched her teeth as she refused to say a single word of defeat. Just at this moment, she suddenly saw Fang Xiaoning's movements take a sudden halt, and subsequently, the expression on his face changed abruptly as the speed of his pursuit suddenly slowed down. While Huang Yueli was escaping, she had been keeping watch on Fang Xiaoning's movements from the corner of her eye. Seeing him stop, she abruptly turned and actually charged right towards him. What's this situation? What's Bai Ruoli trying to do? Is she looking for death? Why did she run back for? That's right, Fang Xiaoning's speed suddenly became slow, and instead of grasping time to escape, she actually turned back. Amidst the crowd's shocked gazes, Huang Yueli was already displaying her footwork as she flew speedily towards the front of Fang Xiaoning. Her feet totally didn't stop as a cold blaze sparkled in her hand and several flying daggers were shot out from her hands, aiming towards Fang Xiaoning's several main vitals, flying straight towards him. Fang Xiaoning had not expected her to have the guts to turn back, and without even a single bit of hesitation, she just struck out like that. His reaction was slower than usual as he couldn't evade in time, and with a whoosh sound, he was struck by two daggers. You actually, sharp and thin flying daggers flew past Fang Xiaoning's shoulder, and the expression on his face was extremely shocked, giving an annoyed look. Bai Ruoli, you are really something. Today is the second time you've hurt me. So, you don't only know how to escape, you also know how to face the battle up front. But this is the end for you. Based on your earlier speed, you're destined to be unable to escape. His embarrassment turned into rage as he shot up like an arrow trying to grab Huang Yueli. However, Huang Yueli was prepared as she gave a cold laugh. Really? I've heard you say that several times today, but unfortunately, I think you have no more chances. Saying that, she flew backwards to retreat, easily evading him. The two of them continued, with one pursuing and the other escaping. On the surface it looked as though it wasn't any different from earlier, but very soon, those sharp-eyed spectators realized the difference. Strange, why do I have a feeling that Fang Xiaoning's speed seemed to have turned slower? If you don't say it, I haven't noticed at all. But now that you mention this, that's right, Fang Xiaoning's speed is much slower than before. Before this, Bai Ruoli was about to be chased up by him, but now, he actually couldn't reach Bai Ruoli at all. Right. Bai Ruoli's speed seemed to become a little faster, but Fang Xiaoning's speed had obviously decreased. What actually happened? Was it because he was hit by Bai Ruoli earlier? But he was hit because of the decrease in his speed, isn't it? What happened during that moment? Since the bystanders were able to discover that something was wrong with Fang Xiaoning, what more about Fang Xiaoning himself, who naturally understood the real reason for his own difficulty? This was all because his state of maniacization could only hold on for a mere 2-hour duration. The minute he exceeded that time frame, his cultivation would fall back. It would even fall back much lower than his normal cultivation. Earlier, the reason for his sudden halt was because the time limit of his maniacization was up. You can also listen on. When it's time for his state of maniacization to end, it meant that his condition at that time was at its weakest. This moment, the profound energy in his meridians suddenly underwent an intense change as his entire body was hurting and he had no way to continue pursuing her. It was entirely based on his strong determination, which was why he had not fallen down yet, making a fool out of himself. Earlier, Fang Xiaoning was rather hasty as he wanted to take the opportunity before his state of maniacization ended, to push Huang Yueli off the arena or to make her admit defeat. The result was this young lass actually didn't take both carrot or stick. She was like a slippery eel, totally unable to catch hold of. What made Fang Xiaoning even shocked and furious was Huang Yueli's eyes were so sharp, and she was so good at grabbing opportunities. Just as he was in the changing state where he was at his weakest, she suddenly gave him a heavy blow. Don't think that Huang Yueli had been struck 10 over injuries and lost quite an amount of blood. She was especially apt at the quintessential of evasion and attack, so none of her injury were at her vital points. But Fang Xiaoning was different. He had suffered 3 slashes, all of which were meticulously stabbed at an artful angle, and the position she chose was extremely precise, which would cause a certain amount of damage towards his arteries. So Fang Xiaoning's current situation was extremely bad, and as time dragged on further, the after effects of his maniacization became obvious. He had no other choice except to grab hold of Huang Yueli right now to end the battle. But Fang Xiaoning wasn't the least worried towards gaining victory. After all, even if he wasn't in the state of maniacization, he was at least a 6th-stage realm practitioner. So even if his ability fell backwards, he would at least be on the equivalence of a 5th-stage realm 8th-level practitioner. Just based on this kind of potential, taking care of a 4th-stage realm young lass was more than enough, wasn't it? But reality and his expectations were extremely different. Earlier Huang Yueli, who seemed to be staggering, had suddenly tuned up her speed and he totally could not catch up to her. Fang Xiaoning was both anxious and angry as he shouted loudly, "By Ruoli, ever since you came up the arena stage, you've been escaping. Is this even considered as a challenger? Aren't you just wasting everyone's time? If you really have the ability, then stop running and let's fight to the end." His shout was purely to vent his anger, so he totally hadn't expected Huang Yueli to really stop. However, when Huang Yueli heard that, she actually halted in her footsteps as she stopped. Fang Xiaoning went into a blank. "What are you doing?" Huang Yueli replied, "Didn't you want to fight to the end? I'll satisfy your request and have a face-to-face battle with you." Fang Xiaoning's eyes grew wide and thought he heard her wrongly. What joke are you cracking? Are you insane? You want to have a face-to-face battle with me? It wasn't only Fang Xiaoning who was shocked. Everyone present didn't believe it as they dug their ears. What's wrong with Bai Ruoli? She actually wanted to go face-to-face with a 6th-stage realm expert? She had spent so much time trying to escape earlier, so if they cross hands now, she would definitely be sent flying off the stage. I'm guessing she probably doesn't want to continue escaping but don't wish to admit defeat as well, so she wanted to end this properly. Since she's going to lose anyway, might as well admit defeat. Face-to-face battle. There's a 99% chance that she will be injured seriously. Huang Yueli turned a deaf ear on the various discussions and raised her head as her eyes stared right onto Fang Xiaoning's. "You didn't hear me wrongly. Ha ha ha. Is your mind unclear? You think that you used your flying daggers to injure me and now you can defeat me? Even if I'm injured, dealing with you is still like an appetizer." Fang Xiaoning started to laugh out loudly. "You can also listen on." Huang Yueli replied calmly, "What you said is correct. With just 4th-stage realm cultivation and wanting to win over you is still impossible, so I have no choice but to advance." Fang Xiaoning went into a blank. What? He felt that he must have heard her wrongly. He seemed to have heard that this young lass was saying, "Advance." What joke was that? With her current age, to have reached 4th-stage realm 9th level, she was considered as an outstanding talent, but wanting to break through to 5th-stage realm. She's not evenly moying. Furthermore, what occasion was this? Was advancing that simple of a thing? She could advance just because she wanted to. The practitioners below the stage were a little dazed. Did you heard clearly what Bai Ruoli said earlier? She seemed to have said, "Advance." Impossible, you must have heard wrongly. However, at the next moment, Everyone present suddenly quietened down as all of their gazes were fixated tightly onto the young lady on the arena, not daring to blink, putting on an expression as though they had seen a living ghost. On the arena, Huang Yueli's surroundings suddenly exploded with a gust of strong profound energy fluctuation as the scorching fire-attributed energy dispersed, making the entire public square heated up. Immediately following that, faint golden rays started to emit from her body as fire-attributed energy within the radius of several miles all started to gather towards her as the center point. Whereas Huang Yueli's aura and profound energy's intensity continued to soar at a speed which was visible to the naked eye. Feng Xiaoning was totally in a daze when he saw that. This scene was truly unexpected. Even though he self-admitted that he was one of the top talented youths in the West Sky region, but he had not expected that there was someone who could suddenly advance right on the spot at this kind of occasion. The other spectators below the stage were all astounded as they couldn't even raise any sound. But it was merely one joss-stick time when Huang Yueli's aura suddenly underwent an earth-shattering change. Her profound energy climbed up, and as she slowly gathered the surrounding fire-attributed energy, everyone could tell that the profound energy on her was no longer the same as before. For a moment, Feng Xiaoning thought that he was in a dream and totally forgot that he was still standing on the arena and should make a move to attack her. Cui Yuanshan realized that the situation was not going well, so he hastily stood up and shouted loudly, "Xiaoning, why are you in a daze? Quickly take the opportunity while she had just advanced and her state is not stable, kicking her off the arena. She couldn't have really advanced, it's probably some other kind of cultivation method which is similar to maniacization, only temporarily raising her cultivation." Feng Xiaoning's face showed an enlightened look. "So that's the case, I almost got cheated by you. State of maniacization cannot last for too long, moreover, even though you've advanced, you're still short of my cultivation by 7 to 8 small realms, so you have no chance of victory at all." Huang Yueli lightly curled up her lips. "State of maniacization. Then you can try to see if I'm a genuine 5th stage realm or not." Saying that, her feet started to move and her body swayed. Immediately her figure disappeared in an instant. Feng Xiaoning was suddenly shocked. Because after Huang Yueli advanced, her speed was raised by at least 2 notches as compared to earlier. Earlier her speed at 4th stage realm was already comparable to his at 6th stage realm 7th level. Now she had successfully advanced while Feng Xiaoning's cultivation level dropped. In this way, Huang Yueli was much faster than him. As expected, not waiting for Feng Xiaoning to react, Huang Yueli had already stole to his rear as her hand held on to an ancient zither. You can also listen on. Although Feng Xiaoning's speed wasn't enough, but his cultivation was still much higher than Huang Yueli's after all, and he was able to sense that she had already appeared right behind his back. This speed was simply so fast that it was perverted. Feng Xiaoning was so scared that he broke out in sweat. He thought Huang Yueli would definitely come out with her killer move to attack him, hence he hurriedly retreated backwards quickly to evade her. At the same time he put on his defense stance. But what welcomed him was not palm wind, nor was it sharp blades, but zzng. A crisp melodious zither tone rang by the side of his ear. Although it was a short note and the volume of it wasn't considered very high, but it was like a thunder which exploded in his mind. Momentarily, he only felt a wave of dizziness in his head. Something was wrong. Feng Xiaoning acutely detected that this condition was not right, and he hurriedly held his breath while he congealed his senses to control himself. At the same time he wanted to see what that young lass was up to. However, she didn't give him a chance to see clearly. That strange zither sound rang continuously for several more times. Huang Yueli's fingertips were plucking the strings, and the tune she was playing was not from those scores which she had played in her past life, but the ancient zither score which she had obtained several months ago in Celestial Light Sect Scripture Depository. Even though she had to display her musical talent in order to gain victory, but she wasn't prepared to expose her own identity, so she could only use the contents in that half zither score to fight it out. At least, if anyone were to become suspicious, she was still able to find a reason to stuff it up. Coincidentally, what that zither score recorded was originally specializing in mental attacks. Even though there was only half a book left and its might was limited, but Fong Xiaoning had never encountered any mental attack previously, so he was totally caught unaware. With regards to the mental control from the zither sound, unless one was prepared right from the start, then would they not be affected. Otherwise, after they had fallen right from the first note, when the other notes were played, it would only lead to his conscience becoming more and more unclear. Unless they had heaven-defying determination, otherwise it was impossible to even wake up in the middle from it. Fong Xiaoning's gaze started becoming dazed as his movements also became sluggish. Huang Yueli saw that the mood was just nice and immediately drew out a short sword hidden behind the zither as her right hand turned and struck out towards Fong Xiaoning's direction. A chi la sound rang. Fong Xiaoning was stabbed on his right leg and his feet stumbled, almost falling onto the ground. Heavens, Fong Xiaoning is injured again. Right, this time it's actually not a sneak attack but a proper attack right in front of him. What happened earlier? Surely I'm not in a dream, right? The practitioners down the stage were stupefied and had just started regaining their senses at this present moment as they looked at each other in dismay. Bai Ruoli. Has she really advanced successfully? Is she really a 5th stage realm practitioner? From the aura emanated from her, she indeed is in the 5th stage realm. But, this is a little too ridiculous, right? How could she advance as and when she wanted? Really treating advancement as simple as having a meal or taking a drink. Furthermore, normally when we advance, we definitely would enter a state of weakness for a long time, but she's actually not affected at all. And even crossing hands with a 6th stage realm top expert immediately. Haven't you heard what Sect Master Chui said? Hers might be another kind of maniacization cultivation method. I don't think so. Hasn't Bai Ruoli said it herself? She's a genuine 5th stage realm practitioner. Perhaps she was just scaring Fong Xiaoning. Otherwise, she's just too abnormal. How old is she this year? Is she even 15 already? And she's already in the 5th stage realm. You can also listen on. The crowd was discussing amongst themselves, each sticking to their own argument. Towards Huang Yueli's cultivation, there were various sorts of sayings as there was no unanimous decision. But there was something which everyone had no choice but to admit. And that was Huang Yueli's ability was indeed powerful enough. Furthermore, the battle power which she was exhibiting now was not an entry-level practitioner to the 5th stage realm. After she advanced to the 5th stage realm, her speed, attack and defense had all raised by a huge notch. As compared to Fong Xiaoning, whose ability had a huge fall, she was no longer in a disadvantageous position. Furthermore, she was about to hurt him directly in his face. Many of them were shocked by the fact that Huang Yueli's sudden retrieval of her zither. What is this? A zither. When the zither note rang, my head was in terrible pain. This zither tune must be a kind of mental attack. Heavens, too abnormal. This was the first time for ordinary disciples to see this, using a zither as a weapon for attacking. Although Huang Yueli in her past life was famous for this, but it had after all been a good 15 years. 15 years, to those young disciples who were present, was simply the same as something that had happened in the previous generation. Although Huang Yueli still remained her name as the #1 armament master in Soaring Heaven's continent, but to the younger disciples, she was a legendary character, so who would know just how powerful was she then? But Murong De and Chui Yuan Shan were one of those who had gone through the times when Huang Yueli's reputation spread throughout the entire continent in her past life, so seeing her using the zither for attacks, both of them were filled with astonishment and shock. Wasn't it said that after Grandmaster Huang passed on, her zither talent had also gone missing? By Ruoli. How was it possible that she could control the zither? What exactly is her background? Zui Yuanshan inquired in shock. However, Murongda's sight was still in a daze as his shock was comparable to his. I'm not sure too. Bai Ruoli isn't really Celestial Light Sect's disciple. She came to Celestial Light Sect because of Moying. But I'd let someone checked on Bai Ruoli's background previously. She seemed to be an ordinary practitioner from South Yu Kingdom, and although her father's innate talent was rather good, but he had gone missing long ago. She had never left South Yu Kingdom since young, and it was only a year ago when she came to Sky Cloud City. This experience didn't sound too extraordinary. Any talented practitioner from the smaller countries all seemed to have gone through this experience. Since young she had inherited her father's outstanding talent and not resigned to wasting her youth in a small country, so after her potential had reached a certain standard, she went out to a big city to seek more experience training chances. Cui Yuanshan frowned. Then how did she and Li Moying get engaged? Murongda replied, Moying himself is a prince of South Yu Kingdom, and their engagement was a betrothal when they were a little boy and little girl arranged by the parents from both sides. Cui Yuanshan was rendered speechless momentarily. This kind of explanation really made him unable to find any suspicious points. At this moment, President Hu suddenly butted in as he said, I know a little about her. Miss Bai once said that she had been taken in as a disciple by an armament master who happened to pass by South Yu Kingdom. That Grand Master came from Sky Emperor City, and that was where she learned her armament refining skills. If that Grand Master himself was Grand Master Huang's good friend or disciples under her in the past, then it wouldn't be strange if she knew how to control the zither, right? So it's like this. Cui Yuanshan and Murongda were suddenly enlightened. What President Hu said was the most reasonable explanation. That year when Huang Yueli was in charge of Mythical Flame Palace, she had recruited numerous armament masters under her wing. You can also listen on. Although Huang Yueli had never officially taken in any disciples, but if there were one or two disciples under her wing who were favored by her, then being taught the skill of controlling the zither wasn't anything strange at all. The two of them had not once suspected that Bai Ruoli on the stage below was Huang Yueli herself. Because Huang Yueli had self-exploded 15 years ago at the northern ice fields and her soul had dispersed. This matter was known to all those top exponents in Soaring Heaven's continent. For the soul to be dispersed, it was not even possible to wrest control of the soul or reincarnate, so she absolutely had no way to come back, which was something that everyone believed in resolutely. Because of this, the duo quickly concurred with President Hu's guess. Murongda's face instantly revealed a delighted smile as he stroked his beard with a broad smile. If it wasn't for the fact that the occasion wasn't right, he might even have jumped up and laughed out loudly 3 times. Good, good, good. This eldest disciple of mine indeed has good foresight. I thought he was smitten by beauty, so he agreed to be engaged with Miss Bai. So Miss Bai actually has this background. The Grand Master whom she is under probably is from Mythical Flame Palace. TSK, just based on this, her future is totally boundless. Although Huang Yueli had passed on 15 years ago, but her Mythical Flame Palace was still a recognizable top powerhouse in Sky Emperor City, which her senior brother was holding the reins. As there was no one who could surpass her name as #1 armament master in Soaring Heaven's continent, so even if she was no longer around, there were still countless excellent armament masters who went in fame, asking to join Mythical Flame Palace. Whereas just based on the respectable statuses of armament masters in Soaring Heaven's continent, Mythical Flame Palace naturally was on a transcendent position. The minute Murongda realized that his eldest disciple's fiancée actually had a relationship with such a large powerhouse, he felt extremely delighted in his heart. This was a super powerhouse which was much more powerful by 100 times than the Ling family. Cui Yuanshan originally listened to those gossip, but when he heard Murongda's delighted laugh, his face sunk immediately. HMPF, Brother Murong, this sect master really doesn't understand what right you have to be complacent about. Even if you're able to recruit Miss Bai into Celestial Light sect, that isn't based on your own ability, but your disciples. She might not even feel grateful to you. Murongda's mood was soaring right now, and his smile beamed even further when he saw Cui Yuanshan's envious and jealous gaze. To be able to take in such a good disciple like Moying, isn't that my ability? Don't think that you've taken in so many disciples, which one of them could match up to Moying? If I don't recall wrongly, your eldest disciple was just sent flying by just one word from Moying. Cui Yuanshan's expression grew uglier. Yi Feng is from the Ling family, and your disciple simply doesn't know how high the heavens are or how thick the earth is. Murongda smiled. So what if he's from the Ling family? My disciple's fiancé is possibly a disciple from Mythical Flame Palace. Furthermore, the 70% quota to the ancient mystic region is going to be in Celestial Light sect's grasp very soon. So there's nothing strange about this sect master being happy, right? What? Cui Yuansha's heart jolted when he heard that. He totally forgot about the arena tournament. He sat upright in a fluster as he turned around to take a look at the situation on the arena. Right now, the battle on the arena stage had entered into the last segment. Right after Fang Xiaoning was struck by Huang Yueli's zither chord's attack, he started to have a splitting headache and even delving into hallucination as his speed grew slower and slower, and his judgment also decreased greatly. Not long after, he was stabbed by Huang Yueli continuously as his entire body was soaked in blood. You can also listen on. Fang Xiaoning simply didn't dare to believe how things had developed to this stage. Just a joss-stick timing ago, he was still standing on the arena stage holding on an absolute advantage, whereas this young lass was escaping everywhere, cutting a sorry state while being beaten by him, and she wasn't going to hang on any further. But now, the situation had completely reversed, and the person who was wildly escaping around became him, Fang Xiaoning. But the person on the arena stage with a higher ability was obviously him. Even if that young lass really advanced successfully suddenly, but there was still an evident gap between the both of them. He should still hold the absolute advantage, right? Furthermore, how could she possibly advance? This was just too ridiculous. Actually, what Fang Xiaoning didn't know was that Huang Yueli's advancement was actually all thanks to his selfless aid. Just as the both of them were pursuing and escaping earlier, under Fang Xiaoning's profound energy clash and coercion, Huang Yueli had met with a few near-death situations as she escaped from death. This kind of crisis sensation caused the speed of the flow of profound energy in her body to raise to the limit. Simultaneously, her profound energy in her meridians kept on condensing and contracting. After so many rounds of clashes, it became even more condensed and pure. Although Huang Yueli cut a sorry state under Fang Xiaoning's pursuit earlier, but only she herself knew just how glad she felt in her heart. Although it was only under this kind of circumstance when she could agitate the potential with her body in the greatest degree, allowing those empty, superfluous surging profound energy to stabilize itself in the shortest amount of time. The pursue match between Fang Xiaoning and her was a kill on two birds with one stone. Not only did it drag Fang Xiaoning's maniacization time, it also allowed her the opportunity to stabilize her own cultivation. By the time Fang Xiaoning's cultivation resumed back to normal, the profound energy in her would be condensed enough which allowed her to advance smoothly. Ordinary practitioner's advancement process was actually very risky, as it required a very long time to go into closed-door cultivation and meditate, as it would repeatedly crash against the dantian. But Huang Yueli had almost succeeded in advancement previously during her medicinal bath soak. If it wasn't for Li Moying who aided her in suppressing the urge to advance, she would have been a 5th stage realm practitioner long ago. With the previous experience, there was no difficulty in the process when her Danton crashed again, and hence she worked it at one go and successfully broke through on the stage. Fong Xiaoning's injury was getting more and more serious as his mind grew heavier and heavier. Finally, Huang Yueli gave a clear cry as her right hand encircled a flame which launched towards Fong Xiaoning's chest. By now Fong Xiaoning totally had no resistance power as he was directly sent flying, falling out of the boundary of the arena. Huang Yueli's strike was actually not very heavy, but as Fong Xiaoning had lost too much blood and suffered from a heavy blow, he fainted. The entire public square was totally silent. Even though they had seen Huang Yueli gaining all the advantage, but when she really threw Fong Xiaoning down the arena stage and gained victory, this scene made many still in a state of disbelief. Right from the start, no one had considered the fact that Huang Yueli could actually win. A 4th stage realm practitioner challenging a 6th stage realm 7th level practitioner and still hoped to win. If it wasn't for the fact that they had witnessed it with their own eyes, anyone would just treat this as a joke. However, right at this moment, this scene realistically appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Huang Yueli, she really did it. Huang Yueli turned her head as she looked at the judge who was standing at the corner in a daze. "Senior, is it time to announce the arena tournament's result? You can also listen on." The referee then recollected his senses. Oh, right, yes. This round's competition, Celestial Light Sex by Ruoli challenging Green Cloud Sex Fong Xiaoning, the victor is by Ruoli. When the last note fell, Celestial Light Sex side immediately exploded into an ear-shattering cheer. "Junior Sister Bai, you're too amazing. Junior Sister Bai is simply my idol. That's great, that's so great, Celestial Light Sect 1. The arena champion belongs to us." Celestial Light Sect's disciples' joy exhibited their feelings in their speech as everyone weren't able to suppress the agitated feelings in their hearts, and some of them even shed tears of joy. Originally, everyone thought that this arena tournament was already lost, and no matter what, there simply wasn't any turn of events. Facing Green Cloud Sect's disciples' complacent ridicule, which of them were able to not nurse a grievance? When Huang Yueli went up the stage, none of them held any hopes or even felt that as long as she wasn't beaten to death by Fong Xiaoning, it was considered that she had extraordinary ability. Whoever would have thought that she was actually able to win the arena tournament to become the new arena champion? Happiness came too suddenly. Especially to those direct disciples, Huang Yueli's victory meant that Celestial Light Sect's quota to the ancient mystic region had changed from 30% to 70%. There were many amongst them who needed to be grateful to Huang Yueli for giving them the chance to enter the ancient mystic region for experience training. This to a third-rated sect such as Celestial Light Sect's disciples was equivalent to a once-in-a-lifetime chance. In the instance, Huang Yueli's reputation reached the peak. Junior Sister Bai is really incredible. She is a certified armament master, which meant that she was already an outstanding genius. I'd not expected that her cultivation innate talent to be so strong, a 4th stage realm challenging a 6th stage realm and even one. This innate talent is almost chasing up to young sect master. No wonder young sect master likes her so much. Junior Sister Bai and young sect master are really too compatible. Their innate talents are so strong that we don't even need to say any further. Their looks are so compatible, so just looking at them is an eye candy. Just listen to what you're saying. When Junior Sister Bai just came, you said she was a road lusting after a swan and had tainted our godlike young sect master. Did I really say such things? Impossible. Why would I say such retarded words? If young sect master doesn't stay together with Junior Sister Bai, who should he be with? Whoever dares to say that they're not compatible, I'd be the first to slap him. In the soaring heavens continent where cultivation was honored, ability talked. So, Huang Yueli seldom refuted because she knew there was no need to do so. Today she had exhibited such heaven-defying innate talent and potential, so those voices which had questioned her instantly disappeared. Murongda grinned from ear to ear, feeling even happier than when Li Moying gained victory every single time. Because Li Moying's victory was taken for granted and something which everyone had long expected, so their happiness was limited. But Huang Yueli's performance today on her innate talent and ability was something which he had never dreamt of, simply like a cake which had fallen from the sky. Brother Chui, thank you for letting us win. This time it's all thanks to your idea to use the arena tournament method to split the quota. Otherwise I really can't think of such a way, and it's even impossible for her to get 70% of the quota once. Furthermore, you also let this sect master realize that our celestial light sect's 4th stage realm outer disciple actually had such strong ability. He intentionally emphasized the words 4th stage realm and outer disciple. Cui Yuan Shan was shaking with rage as he heard those words. You can also listen on. But unfortunately Murongda was still unwilling to forgive. Today is really a good day. Worth to celebrate properly. Tonight I will continue to hold a banquet at the main hall, so will everyone here who witnessed today's scene please join in to celebrate along with her. He turned his head towards Cui Yuan Shan and said, Brother Cui, we can't do without you tonight. You must bring along your disciples to attend the banquet. Cui Yuan Shan couldn't take it any further as he banged his hand on the table and stood up in fury. Murongda, you're won this round because this sect master had not expected you to have a crouching tiger and hidden dragon under your wing. Not only Li Moying himself is incredible, even the fiancé whom he finds also has such outstanding talent. But even if we Green Cloud sect had lost, that was only temporary, so don't be delighted too soon. Saying that, without waiting for Murongda's reply, he immediately turned around as he flicked his sleeves and left. Murongda was still calling out behind him hypocritically, Brother Cui, what's the matter with you? Why are you in a hurry to leave? The disciples below the stage were totally speechless. Green Cloud sect had lost in such a terrible state and Murongda still kept on provoking him. Would he not leave in anger? Murongda obviously was doing this on purpose and yet still pretended to be innocent. If it wasn't for the fact that the occasion wasn't right, Cui Yuan Shan would probably be so infuriated that he would murder someone. The minute Cui Yuan Shan left, the other Green Cloud sect's disciples had no face to continue staying, so most of them started to leave silently. But these did not escape Celestial Light sect's disciples' eyes. On seeing this scene, many of them bore an expression which rejoiced at one's misfortune. Look, those few Green Cloud sect's disciples just left in this manner, not even daring to lift up their heads. Earlier weren't they rather arrogant, saying that we only have young sect master as Celestial Light sect's only top expert and we are bound to lose this time. Now they've been slapped on the face, right? If I were them, I'd also not have any face to continue staying here. Look at their disheveled faces, it really makes me want to laugh. Their 6th stage realm talent in Green Cloud sect can't even defeat our Celestial Light sect's 4th stage realm. Still have the check to claim that they have plenty of outstanding talents in their sect. Today's competition really makes one feel comforted. Amidst the joyous atmosphere, someone suddenly cried out in shock. Quickly look over there. Young sect master came down. On hearing the 3 words young sect master, many of them immediately turned their heads as they cried out in astonishment. He really is, young sect master is heading towards our direction. Whoa, young sect master's expression doesn't look very nice. This is the first time I've seen him frown, but even though he puts on this expression, he's still so handsome that it makes one suffocate. Stop being star-studded. Young sect master isn't heading towards our direction, he's heading towards the arena. So he's going over to look for junior sister Bai. Everyone had guessed his motive and couldn't help but get excited as all of their eyes widened as they fixed their sights onto the duo. Actually, recently Huang Yueli and Li Moying had been showing off their love, but usually most of them felt that they were incompatible. This was the first time that they were surrounded by all of Celestial Light's sex disciples, and almost all of them gave envious gazes which were filled with blessings. Li Moying's footsteps were swift, and it only took a few steps before he reached the arena stage. Huang Yueli kept watching as he walked over as she smiled and opened her mouth. "Moying, I told you before that I will definitely gain victory. How about it? I haven't disappointed you, right?" However, Li Moying kept a black face on as he hollered, "Keep quiet. You can also listen on." You got yourself bruised and riddled with scars and still dare to ask me if I'm disappointed or not. And although I do admire the fact that you've lost so much blood, but instead of feeling uncomfortable, you actually feel excited. Li Moying's gaze harshly stared at her as he spoke madly. Huang Yueli went blank. "Aw. It feels a little uncomfortable." She had immersed herself in the joy of victory and really didn't notice the unusual condition on her body. Right after Li Moying prodded her, she suddenly sensed that her head was a little giddy, and because she had lost too much blood, her hands and feet were icy cold to the point of becoming numb. Actually, the injuries that she had sustained weren't any lighter than Feng Xiaoning's. But she had just advanced successfully and obtained victory to the arena tournament, so her body was still in a state of stimulation, hence she wasn't like Feng Xiaoning who fainted on the spot. Now, that kind of dizzy sensation was much stronger, as though in an instant, her energy was zapped totally. Huang Yueli's feet staggered, and at the next moment, she suddenly felt her body being lifted into the air. Immediately after, Li Moying's enlarged handsome face appeared right in front of her. Li Moying carried her horizontally and at the same time, carefully avoiding the injuries on her body as he protected her in his embrace. Huang Yueli subconsciously stretched out her hand as she wrapped it around his neck. "Aw. So giddy, and you still push yourself so hard. You're not allowed to talk, follow me home to rest." Li Moying stared at her as his tone was still rather fierce. Huang Yueli pursed her lips in grief. "Why must you be so fierce? I'll listen to you." Just looking at her put on this aggrieved little wife look, no one could imagine that just a quarter of an hour ago, she was the same person who put on an awe-inspiring face, winning over the strong. She was a truly strong, talented practitioner. Seeing her acting so obediently, Li Moying's tummy full of anger from seeing her being injured repeatedly instantly vanished by a major half. "You are just lacking in lecture, see how I will go back and sort you out when we reach home." He gave a cold humph, and although he still put on a look of disdain, but his tone had already softened by quite a large bit. When he mentioned the words, "sort you out," the deterrent force wasn't there and it seemed rather ambiguous. Huang Yueli looked upwards as she lifted her eyes to see his perfectly contoured lateral view. Those originally taut cold lines had already softened down by quite a bit. She lightly curled her lips, thinking in her heart that this man was a paper tiger. She knew about this long ago in her past life, that no matter how she ruffled him up, as long as she turned obedient, acted cute and coquettishly, she would be able to settle this man. Indeed, even after a lifetime, he was still the same. She instantly felt reassured as she leaned her head against the man's robust and strong chest, closing her eyes. She had indeed lost too much blood, and moreover it was an intense battle. Plus the fact that she had advanced at a hurried moment, her exhaustion was extreme, so the minute she was in her beloved man's embrace, she completely felt safe, and ignoring the scenario, she fell asleep dizzily. Li Moying saw her condition and his heart started to ache. He lowered his head to kiss her face as he carried her and left. As he walked, he didn't forget to instruct Moe, "Hurry and go invite all the best doctors in the sect to my courtyard to do a consultation for third Miss. Wrong, get all the doctors to come over. Quick, go immediately. If you delay any time, then bring your head over to see me yourself. You can also listen on. When Moe heard that, he ran off hastily. Li Moying turned his head towards Murongda's direction as he nodded his head, carrying his young fiancée, and left the arena stage with big strides. By the time he left, the disciples below the stage all started to discuss enviously. Junior sister Bai is really fortunate. Young sect master actually carried her in the way grooms carry their brides. And even kissed her. If young sect master treated me in that same way, I'd faint in happiness. I envy junior sister Bai so much. TSK, who do you think you are? Why would young sect master want to carry you for? Junior sister Bai is young sect master's fiancée. There's nothing rare about her being hugged. Moreover, both of them have such good looks, just looking at them warms the heart and delights the eye. But it's really a little unimaginable. In the past, young sect master would often put on a cold face. Don't think that senior sister Murong keeps following him around all day and tried ways and means, but he had always remained distant without any intimate actions. That time I kept assuming that young sect master was those kind of genius whose heart was totally devoted towards cultivation, totally without any interest towards. In the end, ever since junior sister Bai came to Celestial Light sect, that's right, ever since junior sister Bai came, I realized that it wasn't that young sect master didn't know how to pamper anyone, he's practically a slave to his wife. Indeed, no matter how cold and powerful a man is, there would be someone who can subdue him. The crucial point is it depended on who that person was. That's right, young sect master knows it all too well. After comparison on senior sister Murong and junior sister Bai, the former's ability lacks the latter by a huge notch, not to mention that junior sister Bai is a genius armament master who even president who admires, and she's so beautiful. It's no wonder that young sect master couldn't help but be touched by her, really envy junior sister Bai. She has everything, and even a man like young sect master who is faithful to her. These discussions, which were filled with envy, were loud as they didn't conceal their volumes. That was because everyone felt it right from the bottoms of their hearts that Li Moying and Huang Yueli were a match made in heaven, plus the two of them had already left the public square, so they didn't need to hide what they were thinking of in their minds. No one noticed that underneath a big tree not too far away, lay Murong Fei, who had just regained consciousness. After she was injured by Fong Xiaoning earlier, as her injury was too serious, she couldn't be moved too vigorously, hence the doctors moved her carefully below the tree's shade. Whoever knew that she had just woken up to see Huang Yueli being beaten by Fong Xiaoning till she was covered in blood and was escaping everywhere in a disheveled state. Murong Fei almost laughed out loudly, forgetting all the pain on her body as she hurriedly turned around to ask Li Lingchuan, who hurried over to take care of her, "What's going on?" "By Ruoli, that little slut, how did she run up the arena stage?" Li Lingchuan had assumed that Huang Yueli would be defeated without any doubt, as he couldn't help but laughed. Heaven knows, why on earth would she seek death for herself? He narrated the scene where Huang Yueli jumped out to challenge Fong Xiaoning, and the both of them exchanged glances as they burst out laughing, sitting at one corner waiting for Huang Yueli to be beaten till she was either dead or crippled. For this, Murong Fei didn't even hate Fong Xiaoning that much as she was hoping that he would injure that little slut to even more miserable state. The best would be if he could kill her directly, then he would become her, Murong Fei's benefactor. In the end, even before she could finish laughing, she saw the clouds change and the situation on the arena underwent a reverse twist in a blink of an eye. Huang Yueli actually advanced just before the battle on the arena state, even breaking out in an unimaginable powerful ability, causing Fong Xiaoning to be sent flying down the stage. Murong Fei's face instantly turned green. You can also listen on. She simply couldn't understand why under the heavens would such a fascinating thing even occur. Fei thought that she was hallucinating due to her serious injury, but the events after that and the crowd's response verified that all this had really happened. After she realized this, Fei was entirely on the verge of breaking down. She simply could not accept the fact that the little vixen whom she had looked down upon was not only an armament master with outstanding talent, moreover she had such abnormal innate talent and ability in the way of cultivation, which was even enough to match Li Moying. How could that be possible? Why did things turn out to be like this? Obviously she was the woman who was most compatible with eldest senior brother. That little slut should be someone whom her eldest senior brother was fooling around with and completely wasn't worthy of eldest senior brother. Why had she turned into this kind of talent? What made Fei even unable to accept was that because of Huang Yueli's outstanding talent, after she represented Celestial Light Sect to obtain the ultimate victory at the arena tournament, everyone treated her as the person who had rendered outstanding service to save Celestial Light Sect, as everyone held her in high respect, praising her non-stop. It was not only those ordinary young disciples, even the sect's various elders and including her own father Murongda, were filled with pride as each and every one of them praised Huang Yueli to the skies. Fei was so upset as her jealous emotions was like a poisonous snake, repeatedly nibbling at her heart. All these should originally have been hers. It should have been her who was Celestial Light Sect's savior, and she should rightfully be the arena champion, the person whom was adored and respected by all. Why had it become that little slut? Fei totally did not reflect on the fact that she herself did not have the ability, but on the contrary, she felt that it was Huang Yueli who stole everything away from her. This wasn't the most infuriating thing. Following this, Li Moying even went down the stage on his own accord and extremely gently carried Huang Yueli. Then he even kissed her on the spot, and the both of them totally had no qualms on displaying their love publicly for a short while before they left under the crowd's envious glances. The crowd's reaction was the thing which truly made Fei almost fainted from anger. Everyone actually felt that that little slut and eldest senior brother were very compatible. To the fact that some of them directly said it outright that she Fei couldn't be compared to Huang Yueli, so she couldn't make Li Moying fall for her. These words totally struck Fei's sore foot like a resounding slap that was viciously slapped onto her face on the spot. Actually she had already realized this from the inner depths of her heart, that Huang Yueli's ability was extraordinary and she was indeed much more powerful than her. It was exactly because of this which made her totally unable to accept it. She had always had a good opinion of herself, feeling that there was no young lady in South Sky region who could match up to her. Even if Huang Yueli snatched away Li Moying, it was all because she was shameless. How would Fei ever admit that she was inferior to Huang Yueli? The more Fei thought, the more infuriated she got, as she couldn't help but turned back and stared fiercely at Li Lingchuan, who was behind her. It's all because of you. Weren't you saying before the match that this time round, I'd be the one who is in the limelight and can make eldest senior brother regret not getting engaged with me? But now... Li Lingchuan's expression wasn't pretty as well, because Fei had totally vented her anger onto him. You have the cheek to blame me for this. What I obviously said was for you to gain victory on the arena stage, obtaining the status as arena champion to get the 70% quota for Celestial Light Sect. Only in this way, eldest senior brother would be able to see your ability. But in the end, how would I know that you actually couldn't win Feng Xiaoning? You can also listen on. Fei hadn't expected that even Li Lingchuan would criticize her, as her embarrassment instantly turned into fury. You, what right do you have to say that of me? The last tournament we had with Green Cloud Sect, you also couldn't win Leng Yifeng and had to rely on eldest senior brother to confront the enemy personally. Green Cloud Sect's practitioners' total ability originally are much higher than our Celestial Light Sect. It's not as if you didn't know about this. Li Lingchuan was struck right on the sore point in his heart as his expression sunk gloomier. In the last tournament, he had finally waited for Li Moying's absence and thought that he would be able to hold his fort in the tournament, standing out in the limelight. In the end, he was defeated by Lang Yifeng, and lost miserably. It was Li Moying who managed to rush back in time to save the losing battle. The situation then was exactly the same as today. Only the main characters had changed into Huang Yueli and Murong Fei. Recalling this, he forced himself to suppress his anger. He wanted to steal the position of young sect master from Li Moying's hands, and because of this, Murong Fei was the best cooperating partner whom he could not afford to offend. He could not break the alliance between them just because of a moment of fury. Alright, it's useless to say all these now. The fact is you didn't win Fang Xiaoning, but it was by Ruoli who defeated him instead, becoming the ultimate arena champion. The plans we had previously were all established on the basis that you had obtained the arena champion, so it's of no use now. Murong Fei said hatefully, it's all that wretched lass's fault. She is merely an opportunist. If I knew that Fang Xiaoning's cultivation would drop after 2 hours, would have also used the delay tactic, then the person who won would have been me. Li Yingchuan couldn't help but look askance at her. Murong Fei made it sound so easy. Escape? Where could she have escaped to? How could she escape? 6th stage realm 2nd level versus 6th stage realm 7th level, that was a difference of 5 small realms. The disparity in terms of speed was already extremely too obvious. If it wasn't for Huang Yueli's phantom movements and profound skill, she totally could not last for an entire 2 hours. But he didn't expose her, as he said, let's not mention the things which had already passed. Although this plan failed, we can still think of other ways which could absolutely separate the both of them. Murong Fei heard that and a spark of joy flashed past her eyes. Oh. What idea do you have again? Li Lingchuan gave a cold laugh, that's right. Although our plan failed today, but it's not as though we didn't reap any benefits. Today, I discovered that we may have a possible ally and he should be the same as us, anticipating with great hope to separate eldest senior brother and Bai Ruoli. Who are you talking about? Murong Fei was totally muddled. Green Cloud Sect's eldest disciple, Lang Yifeng. Li Moying's courtyard. Huang Yueli was surrounded by a group of doctors as Li Moying sat by the side with a gloomy expression. Among those doctors present, there were not only Celestial Light Sect's doctors, there were some other doctors who were sent by President Hu and other various powerhouses, and each of them were all renowned divine doctors in South Sky region. Usually if any of them were to give a consultation, the patients would beg earnestly for their help and also accepted a huge consultation fee before they were willing to help. But now, all of them hurried over just to please young sect Master Li and his little fiancée. But this fawning was absolutely nothing good at all. Celestial Light Sect's main doctor was helping Huang Yueli take her pulse while he wiped off the sweat off his forehead 3 times, with a trembling and fear look on his face, just short of kneeling onto the ground. Ever since he placed his fingers on Huang Yueli's slender wrist, he immediately sensed a huge amount of pressure. You can also listen on. Li Moying's glare was like 2 sharp blades as it repeatedly and endlessly swept across his body. Li Moying's coercion was so powerful, and doctors were the same as armament masters, where most of them were not skilled in cultivation. With his coercion, the doctors were all trembling from shock as all of them went into a daze and used a long time yet still unable to give a precise diagnosis. This in Li Moying's eyes made him extremely dissatisfied. Dr. Ling, how is my Lear's condition? After such a long time of diagnosis, there's still no conclusion. Li Moying's voice was biting cold, and that gaze seemed as though he couldn't wait to chop off Dr. Ling's hand which had touched Huang Yueli's wrist. Huang Yueli thought it was very funny and was full of sympathy for Dr. Ling as she butted in, all right, stop being overly anxious. I said earlier that there's nothing wrong with me. I merely lost a bit too much blood and overexhausted my profound energy, which was why I fell into a coma. So I'd probably recover after recuperating for a few days. Li Moying gave her a repulsive stare. I didn't ask you. He turned towards Dr. Ling. What's the result of the diagnosis? Dr. Ling immediately retracted his hand and at the same time, wiped his sweat for the fourth time as he answered in fear and trepidation, Reporting to young sect master, just as what Miss Bai said, she merely overexhausted herself too much, which was why she went into a coma. When Huang Yueli heard that, she tugged Li Moying's sleeve as she raised her little chin, speaking a low voice. I said this right, you're making a fuss over nothing. Li Moying totally ignored her as he continued to look at Dr. Ling. Just this conclusion and you needed to diagnose for such a long time. Huang Yueli looked up into the sky speechlessly. From these words, he said it as though the doctor intentionally took advantage of her. But she was the Demon King's fiancée, who dared to do so? Dr. Ling hurriedly replied, but Miss Bai's exhaustion isn't quite the same. She wouldn't be able to recover after a few days so quickly. She had suffered a huge loss in blood and profound energy, so she must use a large quantity of rare treasures to refine into medicinal pill and take it continuously. Furthermore, it's best that she lay down in bed for the next 2 months and must take note not to cross hands with anyone. Huang Yueli interrupted him. It's not that serious, okay? This little injury needs 2 months to recover. How could that be possible? Moreover, isn't the ancient mystic region going to be opened in slightly after a month and GT, how can I stay in bed for 2 months? Dr. Ling hurriedly continued, this. I also know that based on Miss Bai's ability and innate talent, you definitely want to go to the ancient mystic region, but the after effects of profound energy exhaustion may be a huge matter. If you don't recuperate properly, it may affect your meridians and dantian and will easily lead to qi deviation when you cultivate in future, so please don't think lightly of this condition. But, Huang Yueli wanted to say something else but was stared at by Li Moying's cold glare. Not allowed to speak. Today you're so disobedient, I haven't even sorted you out yet. You dare to not listen to the doctor's advice. Huang Yueli pouted as she didn't want to argue with Li Moying. But she turned around and used a threatening look at Dr. Ling, wanting him to change his words. The sweat on Dr. Ling's forehead started to drip down uncontrollably. This time he didn't even dare to use his hand to wipe it off. Helping Miss Bai do a consultation was really an extraordinary tough job. First of all, young sect master didn't even want to let him help her do a checkup, and even just taking her pulse on her wrist rendered a death stare. Now Miss Bai even used such a vicious gaze to look at him. He didn't manage to please any side at all. This young couple was simply too difficult to please. Dr. Ling hurriedly replied, Miss Bai is still young and her underlying condition is good, so perhaps it might be possible for her to recover quickly. You can also listen on. Huang Yueli immediately waved the chicken feather as a token of authority as she turned back and told Li Moying, see, Dr. Ling said that I'm still young and my condition is good, so I'd definitely recover very quickly. Li Moying's brows rose. Lear, do you feel that my age is catching up, so there's a problem with my hearing? Dr. Ling obviously said maybe and not definitely. Don't use your small intellect on your husband, that's useless. Huang Yueli was exposed on the spot, but she didn't feel embarrassed at all as she rolled her eyes at him and mumbled softly, what husband? We are not even married yet. Dr. Ling saw through that they were exchanging sweet nothing, so he hurriedly added, I will go prescribe some medicinal pills for Miss Bai, and once it's successfully refined, I'll send it over to Miss Bai immediately. I'll be excused. Amen. Li Moying nodded his head. Dr. Ling slipped away immediately as though his feet were smeared with oil. This was simply too terrifying. A man with such a cold character like young sect master actually said such mushy stuff to Miss Bai, which made Dr. Ling's goosebumps all fell onto the ground. If he didn't slip away quickly, he would probably be disgusted to death. The minute Dr. Ling left, Li Moying immediately walked over, putting his hand on Huang Yueli's shoulder and pushing her onto the bed. Alright, you've been tired for the entire day, so it's time to get some rest. Wait a minute. Huang Yueli nudged her shoulder as she attempted to escape from the evil force's coercion. But Li Moying's strength was very powerful, and with just 2 hands gently pushing on her shoulder without even using any strength, it rendered her totally immovable. He frowned as he looked at his little fox wriggling like a caterpillar. Alright, can you stop moving? Don't you feel pain when you move in this way and rub against your wounds? Earlier, before Dr. Ling entered, he used up all his self-restraint to help Huang Yueli apply medicine on her wounds. That entire bloody scarred body made his heart wrenched in multiple folds of pain, wishing that he could drag Fang Xiaoning out and chop him into 8 pieces. Huang Yueli said, "Since you know that I will feel pain, then just stop pressing on me. If you obediently sleep, then I naturally won't press down on you. But you're so disobedient, so I have to supervise you." Li Moying's brow rose as he said that. Huang Yueli couldn't help but give him a stare. How could you be so overbearing? I ask you, surely you won't force me to stay in bed for an entire 2 months, right? The ancient mystic region will be opening up in slightly over a month, and I've wasted so much effort to gain the quota, so I must enter. You're not allowed to stop me. When Li Moying heard that, his face sunk. I know you want to enter, but if your body condition doesn't allow that, then I cannot possibly agree to let you take the risk. There are plenty of chances for experience training, but if you really hurt your body's fundamentals, by then no amount of rare treasures will be able to nurse your body back. Huang Yueli pouted. What, you're not allowed to leave me and go to the mystic region alone? Li Moying continued, what are you thinking of? How could I possibly leave you to go on an experience training alone? If you really are not able to recuperate, then I will stay behind in Celestial Light Sect with you to recuperate. Otherwise, how can I rest my heart? Huang Yueli went into a short blank, and following that her eyes turned wide with disbelief. She said those earlier purely because she was being arrogant and had mainly wanted to see Li Moying's vexed look. In actual fact, she had no intention to not allow him to go to the mystic region. In the end, she had not expected that this man actually planned in advance that if things didn't go well, he would give up the chance to enter the ancient mystic region like her, staying behind to accompany her. You can also listen on. In actual fact, in a place like South Sky region, the amount of resources which Li Moying was able to obtain as compared to his past life, was really too little. Moreover, he needed to revert back to his past life's cultivation quickly, or even surpassing his past life. In this way, the chance to enter the mystic region was already an extremely rare thing, and it was extremely useful for him to raise his cultivation, so he really shouldn't miss it. But because of her, he didn't hesitate in giving it up. Huang Yueli bit on her lips as a sour feeling arose in her heart. This man was always like this. No matter if it was in their past lives or now, he would forever place her in first place, willing to give in to her. But it was exactly because of this which was why she must absolutely get well soon. She absolutely cannot drag Li Moying down. Li Moying saw her dazed look and seemingly red eyes as he anxiously questioned, Lear, what's the matter? Had your wound split open again? Quick, let me take a look. Huang Yueli saw a light in her mind and suddenly recalled something. She stretched out her arm and grabbed Li Moying's shirt in front of his chest as she said, I remember now. I have a way to get well immediately. Probably don't even need a month, just 10 days and I'd be able to completely recover. 10 days. Li Moying totally didn't believe in her. Alright, Lear, I know you still want to go to the ancient mystic region, and I promise that I will bring you to other places for experience training, so don't be so stubborn. I'm not joking with you. Let me go first. Huang Yueli gave him a stare. His little fox's glare was too vicious, so Li Moying had no choice but to obediently let go of his hand to see what she was up to. Huang Yueli's right hand waved and right in the middle of the bedroom appeared a super large bathtub. Li Moying was stunned as he didn't expect to see this. What is this? Don't tell me, you want to take another medicated bath. Huang Yueli nodded, almost there, take a look at what's in the bathtub. Li Moying heard her words and gave her an astonished look as he walked to the side of the bathtub. The bathtub was filled with pungent red sticky liquid as an intense blood stench whiffed over. At this moment, he was able to sense clearly that this red liquid contained an extremely powerful and dangerous energy. This kind of presence even brought along an indescribable pressure, capturing one's soul. If it was someone with weaker determination, that person would probably not be able to stand firm by the side. Li Moying couldn't help but creased his forehead. What is this? Huang Yueli gave a sweet smile as she showed her sharp little fangs. Do you remember that I told you previously about the reward which I obtained in the inheritance tower, which was to soak in the phoenix blood pool? Before I left, I took a little phoenix blood away conveniently. Li Moying was speechless. This is a little. An ancient spiritual beast's bloodline was long extinct in Soaring Heaven's continent. But many of the strongest powerhouses in the continent still reared in groups of 9-grade magical beasts to collect their blood as a kind of medicinal ingredient, to aid their disciples under their wings to advance. But even for those disciples who had contributed heavily towards the sect, the amount of reward they could obtain each time was generally a small bottle. What Huang Yueli took out was the extremely powerful ancient spiritual beast's phoenix blood. She actually took out such a big tub like this. Huang Yueli laughed dryly. That's right, just a little. That phoenix blood is very large. Although I've already filled all of the containers I have in my space, filling up several tubs, but I'd at most taken less than 10%. You can also listen on. The corner of Li Moying's lips twitched. How many pails? She really was his Lear, so she had conveniently taken away not just this little bit. He really underestimated her. Huang Yueli continued speaking. Last time when I was in the inheritance tower, it suffered from quite an amount of injuries at the last stage, but perhaps due to the fact that I'm a part of the sacred phoenix race, after entering the phoenix blood pool, the multiple injuries on my body from external to internal all speedily recovered. It didn't even leave a little scar, and further, I even advanced. Li Moying heard that and evidently heaved a sigh of relief. I've never expected that you have such good stuff with you. Since that's the case, hurry up and soak in it. If it's really effective, then I can rest my heart at ease a little. Huang Yueli nodded as she used her arm to prop herself against the bed, wanting to get onto the ground. Li Moying shot up like an arrow as he carried her up from her waist, into the bathtub. Huang Yueli used her hand to push his chest. You can leave now. I can manage these few steps on my own, no problem at all. Li Moying's feet didn't even nudge as he stared at her intently. I'm still worried. You are so weak now. What will happen if you faint in the bathtub, which is very dangerous as well? Alright, stop being why. Which part of you haven't I seen before? Have you forgotten that earlier when I applied the medicine for you I've already seen everything? Ah. Huang Yueli's eyes widened in disbelief as she didn't expect Li Moying to say such shameless words out. However, Li Moying wasn't just saying only, he directly took action. His slender long fingers went round her waist as he undid her loose waist belt, attempting to take off her inner shirt directly. Earlier, for the convenience of applying medication, Huang Yueli had taken everything off including her undergarments, so now she didn't wear anything on the inside as she instantly felt the man's scorching large hand pasted on her naked skin around her abdomen, causing her to shiver slightly as that area which he touched started to burn up. Hey, you can't do this. Earlier when you were applying medication, I had already fainted, otherwise I wouldn't allow you to do as you wished. Quickly go away. Where are you looking at? Not allowed to look, I won't allow you to look. Huang Yueli cried out, utterly discomfited. If not for the fact that her body was weak, she would probably have jumped up to hit him long ago. Li Moying's vision swept across her bosom area and propped up his chin while in deep thoughts. Earlier I didn't take a close look. From the looks of it, it seems that you've grown quite a bit. Looks like I've taken quite good care of you. If she is a little more well-fed, it's almost time to prepare for a bite. Huang Yueli looked at his gaze as she simply wanted to murder someone. Li Moying then lowered his head as he laughed softly. Such good spirits, your wounds really don't hurt anymore. Relax, I'm not some beast, so how would I bear to lay my hands on an injured woman? Obediently soak in the bath. I'm really worried about you, so just let me stay here, I won't touch you. Huang Yueli had already been stripped naked by him and she curled up entirely in his arms without even raising her head as she cursed him more than 10 times silently. Hearing that, she hurriedly replied, make sure you keep your words. Li Moying shook his head as he laughed, keep, of course I'll keep my words. When had I ever lied to you? That's very hard to say, you've lied to me so many times already, Huang Yueli mumbled. This man was usually very reliable, but every single time he wanted to get fresh with her, the things he said were no different from a fart at all. You can also listen on. The current situation really made her unable to rest her heart at all. Although she thought in that way, she still obediently hugged Li Moying's neck, allowing him to place her inside the bathtub. Huang Yueli just sat inside when she immediately moaned. The wounds on her body haven't healed yet and the energy contained in phoenix blood was too strong, hence it stung her wounds, making her feel a sharp pain, crying out unbearably. Li Moying immediately rushed over nervously. Lear, are you all right? Huang Yueli clenched her teeth hard as she tried her best to turn over to give him a glance. I'm all right. It'd be better after a little while, don't be too worried. Li Moying looked at her tightly creased brows as he felt an instant heartache, but he also knew that this was unavoidable, so he could only try his best to control himself. Luckily this torturous stage which tormented the duo didn't last for too long, and after a while, Huang Yueli's wounds started to heal at a speed which was visible to the naked eye. After 2 hours later, those bloody wounds had all closed up, and although it wasn't able to completely seal up, but they could tell that it wouldn't take much longer for her to be healed completely. This made Li Moying finally rest his heart down. It really was an ancient spiritual beast's blood, using it luxuriously for a bath soak, and its effect was indeed extraordinary. Huang Yueli was soaked in the bathtub, and initially she was mostly in a daze as all her determination had been used to resist against the pain from her body. But as the wound started to get better, she didn't feel that unbearable slowly and gradually opened her eyes. The minute she opened her eyes, she was so shocked that she jumped up. Because Li Moying was actually sitting by the bathtub with his eyes staring at her fixatedly. Although she knew that the luster of the phoenix blood was dark red and Li Moying actually couldn't see her body while she was soaked in it, hence he could only instinctively see something. But being stared at by her own fiancé still made her cheeks blush a shade of red. That. Moying, she opened her mouth as she whispered. Li Moying immediately leaned nearer. Lear, what's the matter? Are you feeling better now? Huang Yueli nodded. My wound seemed to have closed up and it's not that painful already. Li Moying heaved a sigh of relief. That's great. You can soak a little longer because the energy in phoenix blood is extremely abundant. Moreover, it is compatible with your attributes, so if you soak in it long enough, it will also repair the damage in your meridians. Huang Yueli nodded. I know, that's right. She suddenly thought of something. Do you want to take a soak as well? That time when I took the phoenix blood out, it was so that you and little Wang Kai could have a soak in it, but as there were plenty of matters happening later on, I forgot about it. She hadn't completed her sentence when she saw Li Moying's eyes lit up. Lear, are you inviting me to have a lover's bath? Lover's bath. Huang Yueli was flabbergasted as she went into a daze and then furiously stared at him. Love your head. You go over to that tub to soak. Saying that, her right hand waved and a bathtub appeared in the room. It was filled completely with phoenix blood as well, but this bathtub was obviously much smaller than hers by 2 sizes. Li Moying turned his head and took a look as he couldn't help but frowned. This small. Based on his tall figure, this bathtub really seemed a little too small. If he sat in it, he probably needed to curl up entirely. You can also listen on. Huang Yueli took a look and realized that as she said helplessly, my space only had that little tub. But I have several tubs here. Why don't you go look for a bigger tub and pour 2 tubs of phoenix blood into it, then you can wash yourself with it. Li Moying's lips curled. Why so troublesome? He gave a devilish smile, a little different from usual but still had the same handsome and tempting look which made Huang Yueli's heart skip a beat as her senses were slightly off. By the time she regained her senses, she discovered that Li Moying had deftly stripped all his clothes off. Furthermore, he wasn't shy at all as he totally had nothing on him and specially walked over calmly. The minute Huang Yueli opened her eyes, she happened to see the spot where she wasn't supposed to be looking at. How could you suddenly remove all your clothes? Pervert. Shameless. Huang Yueli flusteredly covered her eyes, feeling her own face burning up. Li Moying innocently replied, wasn't it you who asked me to have a soak? Don't tell me you want me to have a soak with my clothes on. How unbearable would that be? But you can tell me first. Since you said to have a soak, then isn't the next step to take off the clothes? Such an obvious matter, and I still need to inform you beforehand. Li Moying put on an innocent look. Huang Yueli was stuffed. If it wasn't for the fact that she knew this man's true character, just looking at the expression on his face, one would really thought that he was a just good male who was framed. He was really so bad that he was shedding dregs. Huang Yueli was extremely melancholic as she hurriedly replied, all right, since your clothes have already been taken off, then hurriedly go into the bathtub to soak. Why are you wasting time? She was thinking that if Li Moying went into the bathtub, then whatever shouldn't be seen would not be seen, then the both of them would be able to have a good chat. Otherwise, she would probably get a sty from seeing something that she shouldn't be looking at. Although she said that, but in Huang Yueli's mind, the earlier scene kept popping out. Li Moying's figure was tall and robust, from his broad shoulder one could tell that it was filled with strength. His sturdy muscle lines were perfect and flawless and following that pectoral muscles all the way down. Huang Yueli couldn't help but covered her face once again. What was it that she saw earlier? She actually remembered it so clearly. Could it be that she was in her bones? Li Moying gave a response and stopped right there. Huang Yueli was just feeling bewildered when she suddenly felt the bathtub which she was sitting in shook gently. Subsequently, the contents in the bathtub suddenly rose upwards and with a splash, some water spilled onto the ground. A warm body squeezed in and plastered tightly to her back. Huang Yueli suddenly turned her head as she saw the man had already entered the bath, and that chest which made her full of imagination suddenly appeared right in front of her eyes. Li Moying dash. Huang Yueli couldn't help but screamed, who allowed you to enter? Li Moying laughed softly, Wasn't it you who asked me to hurry and come over to take a soak earlier? I'm so obedient, listening to whatever you tell me, why are you still angry? Huang Yueli was so infuriated that she almost threw up blood. Don't you understand human language? I asked you to go over to that bathtub for a soak. Li Moying replied, how would I know where you want me to do? You didn't make it clear earlier, and now that I've already jumped in, can you don't be so picky? Moreover, that bathtub is so small, don't you feel sorry for me? You can also listen on. Huang Yueli retorted angrily, that bathtub is too small. Then if we squeeze 2 people in this bathtub, it will definitely be even tighter. You still insist on squeezing in. Li Moying put on an extremely pure expression. 2 people together is indeed a little too squeezy, but if we adjust our positions, we can still sit properly. Huang Yueli had not responded in time when her slender waist was locked by his hand. Li Moying used his strength and lifted her slender body gently as he adjusted position so that she could sit on his leg. Huang Yueli stumbled and directly fell into his arms, tightly stuck together with him. If it was usual times, just based on the intimate relationship which they shared, this really wasn't much, but the both of them had nothing on them. You big pervert, quickly let go of me. Huang Yueli tried her best to wiggle around, trying to get off from his body. Li Moying couldn't help but moaned, if you don't want any accidents to happen, the best would be for you not to move. What? Huang Yueli sensitively sensed that something was amiss, but couldn't totally understand what he meant. Li Moying looked at her pure expression as he gave a bitter laugh in his heart, feeling that he had really moved a rock to smash his own feet. Not only did he not manage to flirt with his own fiancée, instead he started to burn up in passion. But unfortunately, he could not possibly really do anything to the injured her. Li Moying held her slender waist as she nudged towards the other side, at the same time shifting himself a distance away. Heaven knew that his body reaction indeed was unconcealable, and if it wasn't for rationality which reminded him that his Lear had suffered heavy injuries today and couldn't take any more torment, he would probably have turned into a wolf, pouncing towards her. Really, damn it. Li Moying's tone was stiff. All right, stop fooling around and cultivate properly. This phoenix blood's energy is indeed powerful, so don't waste it. Huang Yueli didn't expect this man to have a change of expression. Earlier he still had a lustful expression, and the next moment, he actually turned so solemn and just, furthermore pushing her aside. Was it because she treated him too fiercely, causing this narrow-minded man to throw his pampered arrogant tantrum? But what right did he have to be angry? He was obviously at fault. Huang Yueli rose her eyes as she stole a look at Li Moying, sizing him up from left, right, up and down. Li Moying shut his eyes, not daring to look at her delicate pretty face, but through his soul trace, he was still able to clearly sense that his Lear had been staring at him. Worried that his little lass could tell that something was wrong with him, Li Moying hurriedly said, "What's the matter? Why do you keep staring at me? Are you really having ulterior motives towards me?" To you. Ulterior motives. Huang Yueli's mouth fell agape. Li Moying smiled lightly. Why? Really coveting my body? No problem, go ahead and pounce up on me, you know I would never reject you. Scram, hasn't anyone told you that you're a real narcissistic? Huang Yueli exploded once again. Li Moying couldn't tolerate it and wanted to laugh as that burning passionate desire in his heart had subsided by quite a bit. His Lear was simply too cute. Usually she always acted too black-bellied and powerful in front of outsiders, but in front of him, she was so childish and adorable. He lowered his voice, "Since you have no designs, then I can rest my heart, so let's grab hold of time quickly to cultivate." Do I need you to tell me that? She could tell that Li Moying was not angry, so Huang Yueli immediately turned into her pampered arrogant self. You can also listen on. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.